Kevin, now we're on to sales. Kevin is going to give us a masterclass on sales. Please, big round of applause for Kevin, and he'll introduce himself.
Hey guys, thank you for having me. Really, really appreciate it. As Jackie said, I am Kevin. I put a photo up here just so you can recognize me, you know, the pretty big distinction. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then we'll get started with something tactical. We're going to talk about cold email today. And why cold email? Well, because I don't have enough time to talk about cold calling, and then everything else that follows. So we're going to stick with cold email, something that we can accomplish pretty easily. So Kevin, I started my career on a high. My first job out of school was at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, and I got to work on Mars rovers. I worked on a polar lander on. Hello? There we go. I worked on a polar lander on Mars called the Phoenix Lander, and it landed on Mars and it discovered water, and that water exists on Mars. And then to top that, I worked on the Mars rover mission, the Curiosity rover, which landed on Mars and then recently discovered organic particles. So that's how I started my career, and everything from there was just downhill. Because right after, I decided to become an entrepreneur, and instead of doing something in my own field, I was a mechanical engineer, I decided to do sales. So I went door to door in 2009 to over 500 restaurants in the greater Los Angeles area to try to sell an online food ordering platform. And I got rejected by all 500. And that's how I learned to handle rejection. In fact, every lesson in entrepreneurship, in sales, I have learned it the hard way. I've made all the mistakes, and I'm hopefully here to share some of the things I've learned not to do, or at least some of the things to do. After that fiasco of a business, I started a couple other companies, and the third time around, I joined up as founding team at a company called Elastic Sales. Elastic Sales is unique because we offered a sales as a service model where other companies would come to us to help build their sales playbook and then deliver real deals to them. And over the course of a couple of years, we got pretty damn good at it. In fact, we did sales for over 200 venture-backed companies. We did sales for companies that sold to doctors and lawyers. We sold to restaurant owners and bar owners. And then we sold to CTOs, CMOs at Fortune 500 companies. So we got pretty damn good at it. And by doing sales for 200 different companies, we also understood what is sales fundamentally. And that is, it is result-driven communication. And when you get really, really good at that, you can do sales for anybody. You can sell anything. After taking all those learnings, we poured that into a product, and that product is called Close.io. So we went from a services business, pivoted to a software business, because services business, while they're very great at upfront, they do hit a limit at some point in scale. So we switched over to software. We built Close.io, which is a sales CRM based on the learnings in our sales philosophy. And then I grew sales at Close.io from 0 to many, many millions in profitability. And after being there for 6.5 years, Elastic Sales and Close.io, I left at the end of last year. And since then, I've been working with early stage and mid stage founders like yourselves as a sales coach. I help founders figure out how to get their first 10 customers, not just any 10 customers, but the 10 customers that'll actually define your real market, the market that'll help you be a billion-dollar business or hundreds of $1 million of business versus something that could lock you into 5 million. I help founders figure out how to build a sales playbook, how to hire their first few sales reps, and then how to hire their first sales leader. That's what I specialize in. So with that, let's get started with cold email. So, used to be, on the slide, we used to say, you're not sending enough email. But now I think people are sending too many emails. And that's the problem. We're inundated. Our inboxes are completely full of emails. And show of hands, who constantly gets great emails all day long that they love reading? Nobody? Really? Nobody got an email from me? No, I'm just joking. That's the problem. It's terrible. You raised your hand, but it's terrible. Most of the emails are garbage. And that's because this is what we're being taught. With the advent of technology in the email automation space, what's happened is that there's all these email automation tools that let you sequence emails. So as soon as that happened, people jumped on board and started sending emails. But of course, they were sending garbage emails. So the people that were most persistent, right, that were annoying the fuck out of you, those are the guys that were actually getting the attention. So all these stats started coming out. Hey, it's your third follow-up that actually gets has the highest response rate. And then eventually it turned into the fourth follow-up. And now it's 10 freaking emails before somebody responds to you. Where does it end? It's a crutch, and I want you to avoid it. You can accomplish the same thing with far fewer emails. And it's simple. Look, less than 1.5% of emails actually turn into opportunities. And this number has only gone down over the years. It used to be higher, but it's consistently trending down. And that's because the quality of these emails is going down. Now, there's two types of great emails. There are those emails that are really, really clever, and those emails that are really good. And the difference between these two is critical. One requires creativity, brilliance. You need to be a great writer. And the other requires simply sound practices. You can't scale clever. I cannot teach you how to paint Mona Lisa, right? But I can teach you how to paint a building and make a good living, right? It's not the best analogy, but still, the point being, you could do a good job with building painting. The point being that being clever, once in a while we all have this moment of brilliance and we'll come up with a great email that blows people away and we get high response rates. But that's like chasing the unicorn. It just doesn't happen most of the time. 90% of your other emails will be garbage. So let's not make them garbage. Let's actually create a framework with which you can create brilliant emails. And then, or not brilliant, just really good emails that get consistent results. And that's a way to scale, something you can teach to other people in your organization, actually build a business around it. And that's really what I want to try to do today. Not to try to turn you in the next hour into a brilliant writer of emails, but instead show you all the good frameworks of writing good emails. So let's get into the basics. This is something people spend the least amount of time and effort on, which is open rates. The first and the most important thing of your email is your open rate. Because you can write the most brilliant email body with everything in it and the best links and the best case studies and funny little stories in there, and it's not going to mean anything. It's not going to mean anything because nobody's going to open your email because you don't put enough effort in the subject lines. So spend at least as much effort writing a subject line as you do writing the email body. Because the subject line is going to be your first filter. Think of emails as a landing page, right? The entire sequence of working emails it's all a set of landing pages. The first landing page is your subject line. The second landing page is the people who open that and convert to looking at the body. Then it's from the people who follow your call to action, and then the people you get into your sales process. It's just all a set of landing pages and conversion funnels. So you got to get that first one right. So how do you write great subject lines that actually get high opens? So first, write like a human. Don't write subject lines that are, and you know what I'm going to do here, just to get people interacting and stop yawning. We're going to get you guys to share some subject lines that work really well for you too. So we'll just come to that in a minute. But first, don't write subject lines in all caps. Nobody normal talks like that in all caps unless they're mad at you, right? A lot of times, if you send an email to your friend or internally within a company, you tend to send emails that are lowercase, right? Sometimes you don't even bother titleizing anything, and that's fine. That's how people communicate. Just put that in your emails, and you'll find that helps your open rates. Don't try to put marketing speak. Now, there's two types of emails here. Some of you guys are B2C, so you are dealing with large number of people that you're emailing. You're essentially marketing to them because you're not doing one-on-one sales with them. And some of you are B2B. So on the B2B side, don't use marketing speak when you're doing sales emails because they're not going to convert for you. And on the B2C side, try to minimize the marketing language because guess what? Marketing emails, on average, you'd be happy with a 30% or higher open rate, right? That's a pretty general stat. You'd be really happy with 30%. But on sales emails, 30% is very much okay. It's not that good. In fact, you probably want to aim for 40 or 50%. In the last 5 email campaigns I've run, I have, and I'm talking individual emails, I've had no less than 48% open rates. And there's no magic to it. Actually follow very simple rules. I'm going to teach you that today so you can go ahead and replicate it. So, no marketing speak, and be personal. Sometimes you can put people's names in the subject line, but don't put it in like, Kevin, here's a way to double and triple your sales. I'm not going to open that. That's going directly to archive. In fact, I might delete it and throw my computer away. So don't do it. Instead, try using names, but try using something personal. Connect. Kevin, can we connect? Right? Kevin, can we grab coffee? Or like Kevin, John, chat. Right? Something simple like that. You can try test questions. And I'll give you a couple of examples of this. Like, here's an example, like too much data entry. Question mark. Lowercase, I already talked about that. And then, believe it or not, misspellings actually get higher open rates. People somehow are bothered by misspellings in subject lines. And okay, use with caution, okay, please. Like I'm not advocating you use this, but I'm just saying it has been observed that misspellings do get decent open rates. So you can try it. And humor always works. In fact, any which way you can be unexpected, you stand out of the crowd, is going to get good results. So you should try to do that. We'll come back to raising curiosity. So let's just move on for a second here. And I'll give you some subject lines, then we'll go back and talk about some more ideas of how to think about subject lines. So here are some examples. So this one is one of my favorite, chat. It converts really, really well. I almost have 50% open rates on this one. If you can get a referral or somebody you know that said you should talk to this person, just simply putting their names. John suggested we chat. Or quick question, John, putting their person's name in there. This is my best hack. If you want a hack, we all love hacks. Well, this is a hack. You see Close.io right here? Just put in your company name, lowercase, that's it. Now, this doesn't work with every type of company name, but I've tested this at least 40, 50 times with 40, 50 different companies, given that we got to test this for Elastic Sales and many, many other people that have advised over the years. Just putting your company name will easily guarantee you 35% open rate or higher. If you can't come up with one, if you're not being creative, just use your company's name. And what it does is it incites curiosity. Because the first thing people go, Close.io? Wait, what is this about? Well, it is about Close.io, so I'm not lying. But it's not enough information for them to act on, which is, again, landing page, right? It's just a banner ad, so to speak, for people to get enough curiosity to take that next step. That's all you want to do. Just get them to take that next step. So putting your company name. Now, some of you guys probably have company names that do incite curiosity. And the less information you give, the better. But you just don't want to give too much information. And you also don't want to give the wrong idea, the wrong impression. I'll come back to that on why in a second. The other one is re-something. This just means that if you are ever following up, you can follow up in the same thread. The reply thread is always going to get a better open rate, usually around 40+%. This is one I tried recently. Did I lose you? This worked great for when I was following up with people who were not replying, who I had engaged with, and then I just sent them an email saying, did I lose you? And nothing else, just the subject line, no body, and almost 100% of the times, people replied. So I'm going back here a little bit to talk about this. So raising curiosity is really cool because here's the example I gave where you just use the subject line only as a way to stand out, as a way to behave differently, where you just give enough information to be curious, but then the people want to know more, and they come to you, which is the best kind of sales, right? When they come to you, that's the best. Another way people tell you, okay, who's heard a stat that you should send emails on Tuesdays and Wednesday mornings? Who's heard that? All right. Now on Tuesdays and Wednesday mornings, how does your inbox look? Who here replies to emails on Friday afternoons? How about Saturday night? How about Sunday morning? We're all founders. That's what we do. Right? And guess what? Most executives are doing this too. Most people who are important, unless you sell to people who are just 9-to-5ers, most people are inundated with emails, and they are handling email over the weekend. Late hours at night, they're trying to catch up. They're trying to live their life. Some people do handle email. They wake up at 4 a.m. like crazy people and handle their emails. That's what happens now. So why are we following this crazy advice that we have to send emails at the same time? Now, that's not to say it won't work, but you might want to try something different, something unexpected. If you send your email over the weekend, you might get a better response. In fact, Friday afternoons turn out to be some of the best times to follow up with your deals. Those are the times where people who are slowing down for the weekend have the brain capacity to actually follow up and reply to you because they've been ducking your email. And yes, that's why people don't reply to you, because they intend to reply, they've just gotten busy. And we'll talk about that later. So follow odd timings. And here's one: deliver what you promise. What does that mean? What does that mean? Somebody? Don't lie. Don't deceive. Don't deceive. A few years ago, Stelly, who's the CEO of Close.io, got an email from somebody. He was trying to follow up. This person was trying to follow up. But he got an email, and they was trying to sell us something. The email subject line, it was the 4th or 5th email, said, disappointed, ... He immediately went into crisis mode. Like, what the hell happened? What did we do wrong? Immediately went in, and like there was a panic in him. And when he opened the email, it said, disappointed we couldn't connect. Right? It was a deceiving email, and it rubbed him the wrong way. And we don't want to do that. Let's not get too cute and too clever in trying to create these emails that are just so, they're so clever that they're going to get great open rates. Yes, it's brilliant to have a 100% open rate, but when they're pissed at you after that, it's not going to go well for you. So just don't do that, right? All right, so for this, let's try everybody sharing who has had a great subject line that they'd like to share with everybody so we can all learn from you. Because honestly, this is one of those things where these tactics constantly change. Different things work at different times. So it all helps when everybody shares. So start over there, gentlemen.
Number 210. Who oh, yeah.
Hi, I used to work at a company called Mattermark, and early on, when we were reaching out to VCs, sometimes they wouldn't reply like 3 times, and then the 4th time, what we would say is the subject line would be, "Did an alligator get you?" And there would be like a funny GIF in there, and there was like a 60% like response rate after that 3rd email of people like being like, "Oh, that's funny. You guys are persistent," something like that. So yeah, jokes definitely work.
So that's a great one. And by the way, some people use a different version of that, and they call it swamped ? And then did an alligator get you? And
Yeah.
Well, everybody started using that, and now it's one of the most commonly used emails. So I actually encourage you not to use that specific example. But the idea
That
is
was like 5 years ago.
But the idea is to share that.
Did you have one?
Yeah, so we do software for hotels, a B2B software for hotels. So on the subject line, we personalize the subject like, "Hey, Joe, this is the information of GetAbit that we want for you to read. There's important information on it," and just like that, and the name of their hotel. And we have great opening rates.
So what was the exact subject line? Let's say Hilton. So what's
"Hey Joe, here's the information of GetAbit that will go great for this Hilton San Francisco hotel."
Okay. All right. So it's very hyper personalized there, right? Okay. What was the open rate before we take the mic? What was the open rate you got on that?
Hey John, the rate
Yes.
Above 70%.
Brilliant. That's great, right? By the way, personalization is the #1 way to get the highest open rates, the highest response rates. It just doesn't scale so easily. I mean, there are some tools you can use to personalize, put certain level of personalization through tags, but generally personalization is always going to beat it. So you put in more time, you're going to get better results. But that doesn't always work. It depends on your business model, right? If you're low cost product, selling to a really big market, you might not want to go that route. But if you're selling a very high profile product to a really to enterprise companies that are worth a lot of money, then you want to take that time to personalize. Great. Any other examples people want to share?
And it's the subject line and actually the body, but it's from the book Never Split the Difference, and he has great book.
Yes.
And he has one he recommends of have you given up ? And then just the body. You know, you reach out to us, you're interested, just wanted to check if you've given up. Did that in tech analytics, and we were seeing like 60% open rates. I'm in a world of a different business now, and it's still a 60% open rate, a 30% reply rate. It's insane.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. That's a great one. Great book, by the way, Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss. Fantastic book.
There you go.
Yeah, so we're in the restaurant business, so it's really tough. They just get so many freaking emails. And we just try to go for a bit of the shock factor and try to generally actually throw some swear word in the subject line. And so we've done a lot of let's cut the BS and just connect and then talk about how, hey, we're not going anywhere. You're just going to keep getting emails. So let's just jump on a phone for 5 minutes. If it's not for you, we're gone.
You know why that works? Why that works is that, first, it's unexpected because his target market there is getting a ton of emails. So then, you know, just like getting a cold call from a ton of people, when you get a bunch of these, you're constantly just mad, right? You're just angry, and you want to yell at them. But if the first person who cold calls you and say, hey, I know this is a cold call and it sucks, but if you give me 30 seconds, I'll tell you why this is going to be worth your time.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging the elephant in the room, right? And it's different, just like that. Let's cut the BS, right? I'm not going to try to bullshit you. Here's why we should talk. And that's refreshing, so it works. All right, we'll move on, but I know we'll get time to do this after. So let's move on from this. Once you've gotten the subject line down, you've nailed it. Now it's time to get the email body correct. So I'm going to talk to you about the basic structure of writing these emails. That's really simple to follow. This works great, particularly on the first email. So first, no emails that are longer than 2 paragraphs. It should fit on your mobile phone. If you send an email to yourself, look at it on your mobile phone. It should fit in one screen. If it does, you've got the right size. If it doesn't, your email's too long, right? And trust me, longer emails do not convert unless you're clever, unless you painted a Mona Lisa of words. And then in that case, you're going to get great response rate and great open rate because you're a great writer. But I don't think most of you are great writers. I'm not. And so I think there's a better way. So anyway, here it is. First question when somebody emails you is, who the hell is this? Who are you? So answer that question. This is Kevin from Close.io, right? What is the, and here's the other thing. Who are you also has to apply to who are you and what does your product do, right? Because this is Kevin from Close.io doesn't mean anything. I don't know Close.io, I don't know Kevin, so why should I care? Well, maybe a little bit more about Close.io, which is that Close.io does X, Y, Z. So you want to answer that question. And then, what's the value for me? Close.io does X, Y, Z, and we think it could do ABC for you. Great. You can make all the claims in the world, but why the hell should I trust you? If you tell me I'm going to grow 10 years younger when I apply this cream on my face, why will I believe you? We all get claims. In fact, the people who believe you are generally people that are, well, let's just leave it at that. Let's just leave it at that. So it's not the type of customer you want, so why should your prospect trust you? You need to earn their trust because they get emails like this all the time. So putting something in here that makes them trust you, like we won XYZ awards from this reputable source, or we've come out of Founder University in San Francisco, or we've raised money from Sequoia or TRA VC firms or whatever it might be. You know, we have the customer, your competitor down the street uses us and is crushing it and getting 30% conversion. What is the way you can create that trust? And that's what you want to do here. Now, the most important piece people forget to do. You've told me who you are, how you can help me. You told me why I should trust you. Brilliant. You got me hooked. Now what do you want me to do? And I swear, if you then tell me, hey, here's a case study, And here is a white paper you can download and watch this 3, 5, 10, 15-minute video, and then also sign up for this free trial. If you give me 5 things to do, I'm not going to do any of them. So you need to give me one thing to do, maybe one supporting thing with that. Like, here's a little video. Are you free to chat next Thursday? It's a landing page. Just need to get them to the next step of the conversion funnel. That's all you really need to do. You don't need to tell them everything about your product. That's the other problem. What the value is in it for me, don't try to throw 500 darts worth of value proposition at people. Just pick one. Why? Because if they don't respond to that one, they probably will respond to the second email where you can pick number 2, and your third email where you can pick number 3, and so on and so forth. So you don't necessarily have to give it all up because you're going to make that email too long. Try to keep it short and just do this. Now, we have a bunch of free templates at the Close.io blog, and I would encourage you to go check it out over there. Now, let's talk about how to get responses to your emails, right? We're talking about the call to action, that very last piece when you ask them to do something. So every email needs a very clear call to action. It has to be very, very clear, very obvious, right? And like I said, make sure you're not getting too many, and you have to make it seem like you're talking to me, right? You have to make it seem like it's personally. Who you're emailing is the person who you want me to perform an action, right? If you say your team can benefit from this, check it out. That's not a call to action. And don't give choices, like I said earlier. I actually covered all this already. All right, here's an example email that I just threw together following the same basic principles. I'm going to go here for a second. You guys feel neglected. So, subject line, too much data entry. Now, this is a subject line. This is not particularly brilliant. It's just very simple. It's actually one of our value propositions at Close.io. But it's an email you might get from a friend or a colleague or an employee complaining about data entry. So it actually works on multiple levels. It's super simple. And it's not deceiving. I am talking about reducing data entry. So, hey, Joe, my name is Kevin, and I'm researching. I can't even read my own emails. And I'm reaching out to see if Bluth Company sales team is struggling with too much data entry. All right, so that's why you're reaching out. So I changed the order up from what I explained. It doesn't really matter. You can flip the order around. It doesn't have to be in that order. Close.io is a CRM. That's who we are. Close.io is a CRM that automatically logs all your calls and emails, so your reps spend more time selling, right? Now, I know, I think David over there is a Close.io customer, right? There we go. So we recently helped Sitwell Enterprises sales team increase their sales productivity by 28%, and I'm hopeful we can do the same for you. So that's my trust building exercise. That's my credibility builder, right? And then, does this in general sound interesting to you? You know, that's my ask. If so, let's open to a call Thursday or Friday. It's simple. I'm not offering too much, but it's enough to get somebody wanting to take that next step. And since sales is all a funnel, that's all we're trying to do is just convert to the next step as many people through and through and through. So that covers all of the aspects of the email that I broke down for you. Now, any questions at this point? Because now we're going to talk about follow-up, which is very, very important. Yes, so what they've had some success doing is below the signature putting some links to PR, or in the signature line itself, putting links to PR, maybe a video or maybe award-winning or something like that. Yes, that's actually a great idea, because that's not necessarily an actual ask, like, hey, check this out, but it could be some supporting. Now, don't put every one of your collaterals in there. That's just too much. But maybe one thing that makes you seem that's legitimate, it works well, I think. In fact, you can also use the PS line. I said, P.S., check us out, you know, or check out this book we wrote on such and such topic that might be useful to you. Or check out this article that could be really interesting. But keep it to a minimum, right? Don't bombard people, because really, just think of it as yourself. How do you want to be sold to? Do you want somebody calling you and does not give a shit about what you want and just tells you everything about their product? Do you want that? No, you just want a couple of basic questions answered. So do that.
Kevin, another Close.io customer here. So
Yay, awesome.
Yeah, so I think that most of our emails follow the same thing. Stelly has some great emails that come out. Love the content that they generate over there. One of the things that we see, though, is it seems like the rest of the email hits the points we want. When we try to get people on a call, though, a lot of them will respond back and say, hey, just respond to the action that we requested, even though there's a lot of information we'd like to gather from them over a quick call to answer a few quick questions. And so I'm over here struggling with that call to action and how we can make it more impactful than that, happy to hop on a call and maybe give, some content, or I'm trying to think through new strategies to have some link, just something that is a little bit less cumbersome to them than hopping on a call. It seems like that's a little heavy for them sometimes.
Sure. So this is probably a little bit more on offline discussion. We should talk about this.
Absolutely.
So grab me after the talk, and then we'll make it happen.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? You had one here.
What was really smart about that last template was just the line, does this in general sound interesting to you? Like, to me, that lowers the bar so much. Like, I hate emails that are like, let's get on a call, let's get on a call, let's get on a call. You're like, no, it's my time and I'm being protective of it, but you're asking me if in general this is interesting. I'm like, well, yeah, actually. So I'm justifying why a call makes sense. I just thought that was a really good line, really subtle but effective.
So this is pretty advanced concept here, at least for me, for a little sales guy. But the idea that she's talking about is taking away, making it like easier to say yes, right? Making really easy to say yes. I don't know that book talks about going for a no, but here you actually want a yes. But here, in some industries, people are a lot more sensitive. So like if you're selling to, I don't know, lawyers or security directors or something, or very, very high-level executives, they don't want to be asked to jump on a call. So instead you just ask for basically permission-based emails. Hey, does this in general even sound interesting to you? And that alone, if people go, yeah, that sounds interesting, let's jump, they're gonna want to jump on a call. It's just natural. Like if you get an email that you're really finding interesting, aren't you gonna want to know more? And so we don't actually have to do this, but it doesn't hurt to do it. I'm actually on two minds about this. I've started to change my approach, but so this is great that she brought it up. Any other questions, comments before we move on? Yes, sir.
What about putting links or attachments in your initial email that are never clicked on because the recipients are always coached not to click on anything, for spam?
Can you repeat his question? Yeah.
So that's a great one, right? So a lot of recipients a lot of us are told not to click on links, right, because of spam. So it's one of those things where we also have a little bit of an understanding of how pattern matching, where we can see emails that are super spammy. So those are people where we usually don't touch the links. But there are people who write really good emails, but they have spammy links, or that can be harmful to you. So generally, you should avoid attaching anything just linked to a, or actually, I like to just put the whole URL, simple, like www.close.io/blog or whatever, right? And it's usually easier. But people still click. I mean, they just do it anyway. Enough people will do it, which is why those people are still in business.
Just on the subject line with the reply, RE, I receive them all the time, and it's kind of annoying, actually. I think it's deceiving, right, in the end. So what have you found with that subject line?
Don't do it unless it is in the same thread. So, so the best way to do it, so I should have specified. The best way to do that is actually within the first so you send your first email and then reply close.io or reply, whatever is your first subject line. That's what I meant. So in no way I actually strongly, the point about deliver what you promised, right? Don't deceive the person. So I agree with that 100%. All right, let's move on. Oh, no, not yet. So step 4, follow-up. The question is, you need to have your follow-up strategy down before you send your first email. You need to know how you're going to do it. What are the emails you're going to send? I do not like 7, 10, 15 emails. I really don't. Look, there is something to be said by 7 to 10 touches, but there are other ways to do it. Don't spam their email boxes. One touch can be a LinkedIn Connect with a little message. One touch can be, a few touches can be emails. One touch can be a cold call, maybe 2 cold calls. One of them could be a voicemail, right? There are many ways to touch a prospect so you don't, sounded terrible. That sounded horrible. But there are many ways to do it, and you don't have to do it all via email. So my recommendation is no more than 3 to 4. Actually, no more than 4. I prefer 3, but a case could be made for 4 if they're well written. So write good emails. On the follow-up side, there's 2 types of follow-ups. There's the follow-ups part of your email sequence, but then there's the follow-up after they engage you, after they reply positively, after they have had a meeting with you. Now how do you follow up? I'm going to talk about that because I think it's really, really powerful. But keep in mind, what I'm about to tell you there is actually going to be uncomfortable for you. So you should be warned. Andy Bernard from The Office. I don't know if there are any Office fans here. So I take Andy Bernard's approach to accept the painfully part. Once somebody has positively replied to me, once somebody has engaged me, then all bets are off. I'm going to follow up consistently until I get a binary yes or no. That's all I'm looking for. If you say no, that's fine. Have a nice day. I won't bother you again. But if you don't say anything, I'm going to keep following up. And guess what? I've done this for years. My first deal at Elastic Sales took me 43 follow-ups. At one point, I started calling the guy every hour on the hour. I would say I do not recommend it, but eventually he bought, and what he said is the reason why he bought is because of my persistence. Because he said, you know what, if you're going to be as persistent with my clients as you are with me, I want you on my side. Do it respectfully, but you can do it. Look, if they're not interested, they'll tell you, right? Now, I don't recommend calling every hour on the hour. That was a little bit of a risky move, but we did it. But over the years, I have always followed this strategy. You follow up on the 5th, 6th, 7th, sometimes 10th, 15th follow-up. They will reply, and they'll tell you, they're like, hey, so glad you followed up. It's been insanely busy. Really sorry about that. We had this project, or had a kid, or my wife was in the hospital, or my, husband is, bothering me, whatever, like something or the other. It's always something. But then they're telling you what's next. And if they may tell you, look, if something changed in our company, we're no longer going to be able to buy it. Really sorry, can you check back in 2 quarters? Even then they're telling you they're still interested. Or they'll tell you it's not going to be possible anymore. And that's fine. At that point, you move on. Then you do not email them again. But until you get that binary yes or no, you should still follow up. But the question is then, how? How do I write those emails? Well, a great way to write those cold follow-up emails is to pretend like every one of your follow-ups is your first. So the 40th follow-up will act like the first. Hey, John, beautiful day in paradise. Hope you're doing well. Just wanted to follow up on our chat. Are you interested in XYZ still? If so, let's jump on a call. By the way, here's a quick update on our company. And maybe every time you talk to them, you give them something new about progress that your company has made. Like, oh, we just got featured in this article. By the way, are you free this Thursday or Friday to pick up where we left off? Something that's innocuous, kind, simple. Never make them feel bad. Yeah, there we go. Never make them feel guilty. Ever make them feel guilty for not replying. John, I can't believe it. I've sent you 4 emails. You used to really, you told us you were so interested, but now you hurt my feelings. It's not professional to waste people's time. Guess what? They're never replying back. Okay, how many of you have had a situation where you've had an email in your inbox that you meant to reply to? You want to reply. You've just been so busy. Everybody does this. There are very few people who don't do it. We all do it because we get busy. We intend to. So isn't it nice when people follow up? How often do we get actually mad at them for following up because we actually owe them a response? We are the ones who owe them, and they're taking the time to actually follow up. How often do we actually get mad for people following up when we owe them a response and we haven't been the one to reply? I don't get mad. No, most people here don't either. So your prospects won't either. So don't worry about it. Just follow up. It's okay. Because if they're not interested, they would have told you. Who wants to be bothered with emails? They know they have an out. Now, some people will say, well, there's breakup emails. Okay, breakup emails are great for cold email sequences, which, again, do not send them more than 4, please. Right? Let's not perpetuate this this bad habit that the industry is taking right now. Let's not perpetuate it. But then, in some cases, it might not be worth it for you to keep following up, right? Let's say you're selling a $100 a month widget. It might not be worth it for you to follow up with somebody for 6 months. In that case, you might try a breakup email, right? You might, because it's no longer worth your time. But in most cases, it is worth your time. If the deal is bigger, then it just takes 10 seconds to shoot off an email. It doesn't take any effort. Provide value. I said, every time you can update them with something new that happened within your company, that's powerful. Keep it short. Be friendly and nice. And I've never had anybody be mad at me. Well, there was this one time. But in that time that I was selling to this doctor, and he told me, listen, Kevin, I'll call you back, let you know I'm busy this week. And I called him the very next day, and I left him a voicemail. And then I called him later again that day and left him a voicemail. And then when he eventually picked up, he yelled at me. But then he told me he wanted to talk to my boss, and I told him I was the boss, and then they never bought. Anyway, but besides that, nobody's ever. That was years ago. I'm much better now. So another way to elicit a response is humor. I got this email once from somebody who was following up, and that's all it did. Just this. That's all the email was. And it was pretty funny. And they got a response. So that's using humor. And of course, the alligator thing, people use that a lot. Don't use something people are already using. If you're funny as a person and you can come up with something original, do that. Otherwise, please don't look up funny emails and then send it to people, because guess what? They've already seen it. Because now, the article with the alligator thing, there was somebody who wrote an article saying that I've received 6 of these emails in the last year. With always the same, are you swamped? It's just become a dad joke now. Let's just stop with that. So you could try something funny. There's a couple of companies out there who will actually create original funny content for you that you can use in your emails to make your emails better. There are those services like that. Or if you can't, then you don't have to be funny. Here's an email I got from somebody who basically personalized his email by making a little video using a great tool called Vidyard. And using Vidyard, he made this video, and he takes the first 3 seconds of the video and turns it into a GIF, or GIF. So he does something really funny in the first few seconds, and then if I click play, it's the full video. But he'll offer me something telling me personal. But he made the video just for me. And by personalizing it, it was much more powerful, and I got engaged. And this definitely caught my eye. I mean, there's no way I'm not going to reply to the man who created a video for me. It's like love at first sight. So, but anyway, I encourage you to be personal whenever you can. So with that, actually, we skipped one thing. Okay, yes. So some ideas for follow-up sequence in your cold email sequence. Some ideas. So we're reviving back to the cold part. So on the cold email side, what are some ideas for emails you can do? So you have your first email that we talked about, then a follow-up email. And the follow-up email can be a similar format. You can say, hey, just bumping this back up, or circling this back to the top of your inbox. And then you say, and then that's the email, the reply subject line that we were talking about. And then you can say, you can talk about a different value proposition. And that's the beautiful thing. You don't have to hit everything in the first try. You can try a second thing and say, hey, by the way, we were just featured here, XYZ. Different people respond to different messaging. And since it's cold and you don't know what they care about, this is one way to do it. Then after that, you can follow that up with a 1, 2, 3 email. Does anybody know what 1, 2, 3 email means? You can easily look this up online. Yeah, hey, I haven't heard back from you. I wanted to follow up. You haven't replied is probably one of these 3 reasons. Number 1, you're not the right person for, or you're not a good fit for this. No problem, just reply back and I won't bother you. Number 2, it's the right company, but you're the wrong person. Please let me know who the right person is. Number 3, you are interested, you've just been really busy. And this is where people use like, oh, you've been busy or swamped or whatever. Anyway, you're busy and you want to be followed up with, or you're ready to chat now. Something like that. And these are pretty powerful because sometimes people just reply with a number. And if they're like, I'm not interested, if they reply with number 1, that's beautiful. because now you got them to engage, and they thought that they can make you go away, but now you can actually reply to that and go, hey, quick question. Do you mind sharing some feedback? You know, we're a startup. We just want to learn. What was the reason you're not interested? And sometimes, actually, a lot of times, they'll actually jump on a call with you to tell you the reason. And then turns out they didn't actually understand what you did in the first place. And then they get really, really interested because they think their guard is down because they're telling you what sucks about you, but then it really isn't true. And that turns into a sale. I have sold this way many times. Trust me, this works. So just, if they say no, you can say, hey, no problem, I'll take you off my list. But quick question, what's the reason, if you don't mind sharing some feedback? It's very innocuous, it's fair. And they have the option. You don't keep following up on that. You just say that one email. And then you find that people will often jump on a call and tell you why. Right? And sometimes people just need a platform to pontificate just like I am right now. But the idea is really, really, really powerful. You get them on a call, and then when their guard is down, they can actually pay attention to what you're doing. Because most people won't even read your messages all the way through. They just are so programmed to archive. And the breakup email, which I'm sure everybody's seen a lot of these, but breakup email is when you, instead of pushing, you start to take it away. Right? You no longer push, you pull, and you turn these people back around and let them come to you, and you say, hey, I'm not going to follow up with you anymore. Is it okay with that? And then you guys can look up these templates online. I really don't need to get into this. So there's some softwares that you can use to do a lot of the email outreach. You can also send me a message, and I'll gladly share some other suggested tools, and then go back into questions. Right.
Okay, great.
So the step before all this is lead generation, oftentimes. What tools do you recommend for lead generation?
Lead generation, it depends on the industry you're in. There are amazing tools out there. I've personally tested a bunch of them, and I can tell you from my experience, Zen Prospect, recently renamed to Apollo, is great. In some cases, you can try Growbots. It's hit or miss depending on the industry you're in. Then there's another one which is called Zoom Info. Clearbit, if you're tech savvy, can code, then you can use Clearbit's API to generate lists of prospects. And Datanyze, if you want to search for technologies people use, and then search for lists of people that way. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is decent. If it's heavily research driven, you can find people that way, and it works quite well. Discover.org, yeah, thank you. Discover.org is another one that's super enterprisey. It's very expensive. And then there's many, many more that you could if you just simply research, you'll find them. Now, I personally tested most of the ones I just listed to you, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses. And because I've done sales for so many different industries and companies, I know that there's no one clear answer. And that's the thing I wanted to leave you with, is that there's no clear answer here in terms of what works. So you have to, there's no playbook somebody can just give you and you just install it, right? It doesn't work that way. The solution to your business model, your playbook, is a unique animal that you have to iterate and arrive. And the more tools you have available, not just softwares, but more sales tactics you have available that you can test and run through, the more likely you'll find success. And here's the weird part about it. There's multiple ways that you can be successful too. And if you find one thing that works, don't just stop. Keep testing, because you might find another one that converts better, because it is a conversion game. If it takes you 10 hours to sell a customer, and then you do a lot of iteration and you find that it takes you 5 hours to sell a customer with a new approach, you would never have known that. And you could scale twice as fast if you'd known that. So you should always keep testing. And that's what I always help with all the people that I advise and work with. All right, other questions?
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of doing business via email. So, I've basically been against the cold call probably since 2006. But I think your point is a good one. Now email is sort of the new cold call to a certain degree. So I know you didn't want to get into cold calling, but you obviously have a wide breadth of experience. So is the cold call making a comeback now?
Cold call never really went away. It never did. It only among the new brand of Web 2.0 and onward companies, because engineers hate doing cold calls and actually dealing with other people in general. Well, I'm not joking. But they hate that, so they hate being cold called. And look, The fact is, if your industry is being sold to by other companies successfully over cold call, right, or your competitors are successfully selling or are cold calling, then you should try it because it probably works. In fact, you should always be willing to test cold calling. And one of the talks I give is teaching people how to be good at cold calling, how to get it right, just like cold email. And it's a whole another thing. But once you get that right, it's actually very consistent, very scalable, and it's a great funnel. Because here's the thing, not everybody who responds to emails will also respond to cold calls, and not everybody who responds to cold calls well will respond to emails. So by doing both, you're actually maximizing conversion. There is probably a segment in the middle. There's an intersecting point there, but there are a different group of people. And so not everybody's like you. That's the thing you have to know. And not everybody's like me. I don't mind being cold call, but I know other people are not, so I'm willing to open up to that.
B2C versus B2B.
B2C, you know what? There are people who cold call B2C as well and get away with it. And like, I mean, just the other day I bought another Las Vegas package, and this is the third time. And you know, the only reason I bought it, because the guy was so good. He was so good on the phone. I just could not say no. It's just like, he was on it, and I appreciate that. It was almost worth the $300 I spent on it. But it's like, I will go to Las Vegas sometime in 2019. I will do it. But the point of this is like, there are people who are really, really good at cold calling, and when they are in their element, they can be very effective. And you don't have to do it in a sleazy way. You can actually do it really, really well. In fact, one of the best ways what is the biggest objection what people give when you cold call them? Not interested. Actually, it's probably the most common. Not interested, right? Right, not a good time. All right, so here's how I respond to not interested. Of course you're not interested. I haven't told you anything you'd be interested for. So let's take 30 seconds and I'll tell you why you want to be interested after this, and then we'll explore if this is a good fit. Unexpected, but it turns it around. So don't be flustered by it, and it'll work really well. There's many, many things like that.
Email marketing companies, have you ever used them, and can you suggest any?
When you say email marketing companies, what specifically do you mean?
Okay, I talked to a company last week. We haven't gotten started yet. They claim to be an email marketing company, told us. So we install, my app is well, it's not an app, it's a website. It's a consumer product that they could, if we install a pixel, they could track, they're going to send emails. They have millions of emails. They're going to send emails for us. They could get us like $8 cost per acquisition on people that actually sign up.
So I've dealt with this, and most of the times it doesn't work. Right? Because you'll know this very quickly is how much time they take a lot more time selling you than they do actually trying to figure your business out and actually making it successful. So I would recommend if you trust them and you really like them and you think they're great people, then I would start with a small project. If you absolutely can't figure anything out, it's worth testing. But once you have the data point, then I wouldn't move on. I would move on from there.
Right. Yeah, because there was no cost up front.
Yeah, that's how they get you. But you have to use your best judgment. I cannot tell you it wouldn't work because it does work, but not for 100% of the people.
You said you had another talk about cold calling.
Yes.
Is it listed online somewhere?
Actually, yes, on my website.
Okay, thank you.
I'll share it in a sec.
I can get you there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Make sure the other side of the room is represented. Okay. Did I is that okay, Tony?
So, do you have any ebooks that you recommend that we should read about this?
Yes, so I would recommend checking out the Close.io blog. That's a good one. You could check out my my website. I've got a bunch more talks on various sales subjects and actually getting into details. And then there are some really good resources out there. If you shoot me an email, then I can send some suggestions over to your way for sure. Yeah.
Depends how good is the subject, of course.
Well, if you know what, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. A lot of times people give me their email address, or not email address. They send me emails for me to like assess the email and give them feedback. And I won't even look at the email if it doesn't have a subject line. Like, hey, can you check out this email? And then there's the email body, but there's no subject lines. I'm like, I'm not going to look at this because no one's going to look at it because your subject lines is non-existent. So send me back with the subject lines, and then I'll look at it. So yeah, send me a good subject line.
So a lot of what you were saying seems to be more towards B2B. If you have an e-commerce, B2C, is there anything that you didn't mention that you would recommend?
So so many things. But anyway, the simplest thing I could tell you is that the same principles apply because you're always still selling to human beings, right? Which is one of the things where, you know, everybody's all excited about AI. AI is going to take over the world's sales. AI can assist humans, but it can't replace them. At least not right now, not in the near future. That's my opinion. But I believe that humans don't just respond to objective analysis of whether something's going to work for them or not. Humans buy on emotion, right? That's how people make decisions. And that means the people who sell to them have to be good communicators. And so if you focus on great communication through email, through cold calling, through other types of messaging, Facebook, LinkedIn, ads, if you create great communication, people will always respond to you. If you understand them, if you understand your target market and what they think about, what their fears are, what their hopes and dreams are, then that's what you should write about and get them to respond to that.
Okay, maybe one more. Oh, sorry. She could like toss you right in the middle. Oh, sorry.
Did you have a question too? Okay.
So I've heard recently, I used to always respond following up from like a meeting, and apparently people just shouldn't do that. I don't know if you've heard of this, but apparently it's continuing the conversation. Have you heard anything about that?
Like, are you talking about your subject line?
Sorry, subject line of a follow-up from something.
From a meeting?
Yeah.
You know, just, no, there's nothing,
okay,
no.
Cool.
Whoever said that doesn't know what they're talking about.
It was me.
Case in point.
Okay, really last one. Okay, last one.
This is a follow-up question to Annie's question. It's about B2C. So 42 emails might work for your B2B customers when you're trying to get a meeting, but if you're to just essentially spam your consumers that way, they're going to opt out. So have you happened to do any A/B testing to understand what's the optimal number and frequency touch points when sending out scaled emails?
I want you not to think of it this way. That's the whole point of this talk. Don't think of it as there an optimal number, right? There's optimal messaging, right? That's what we want to go for. Great messaging, great communication, right? And if you put more effort into fewer emails, you're going to convert. And then if you still want to answer that question, because at one point if you get your messaging right and you want to answer that question, then there might be a way to do that, but the answer is your business is very much unique. Nobody can give you that formula. You have to figure it out on your own. And that's hard to hear because you have somebody experienced telling you like there is no formula. It means that every business is different. Everyone has unique value proposition, unique industry, unique customer base, unique challenges, pricing point, maturity of the market. There's so many variables. So how can some pure formula on the number of emails even work on that? You know what I mean? So I think you have to try to figure that out on your own. And the way to do it is test it and send out a few emails in small batches. And if some percentage of customers start getting mad or opting out, then you pull it back a little bit. You want to test the boundaries. You push it, test the boundaries, then you pull back, and that's your answer. Cool. Well, look, you guys have been really, really great. So I wanna actually offer you guys something really fun. If you send me your email address, I can send you an assessment. If you fill it out with your email templates that you use, I can grade them for you and let you know what you could do to improve them. So I'll give you my personal cell phone. And I'll also write my email address. Just 818-635-6350, email at kevinramani.com. Shoot me a text, just say hashtag email assessment, and I will send you a little mini survey, has a few questions about your industry and market, and then your email so I can properly assess and grade your emails. And I will grade them, and I'll let you know how you're doing in terms of the industry and what areas you can improve on. And you guys have been so awesome. I usually don't do this, but I wanted to offer this. So go ahead. Thank you so much.